Say all our protected areas are home to many plants and animals. And if we don't keep it clean, we will lose out. Cause of them provide the food and material. Me say yeah, we fit take care of Mother Earth. And if you are dirty up Mother Earth, say me go left for me I do. And come check for you. Me go come check for you.
Leatherback turtles mistake plastic bags for the jellyfish they eat. So remember, leave only footprints. Conserve, use and preserve our environment.
Yeah man, basically you're only hurting yourself when you hurt Mother Nature, you know. So just do your part. Use it, protect it, conserve it. It's all about balance.
While we do not have marine protected areas, we do have marine management areas. It's called the St. Kitts and Nevis Marine Management Area and it's comprised of multiple use zones. The SKN MMA is a 2-mile radius around the coastline of St. Kitts and Nevis, which includes Monkey Shoals. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis declared the SKN MMA in August 2016. The zones within the SKN MMA are conservation, fishing priority, recreation, transportation, and mixed-use zones. Our goal is to promote the safe and sustainable use of our marine resources.
If you're traveling and inquiring about taking fish or fishery products caught in the waters of St. Kitts and Nevis, follow these simple steps. First, complete an application form from the Department of Marine Resources. An authorized officer will then inspect the fishery products. The exporter will finally be issued an export form, catch certificate, and health certificate if the products are legal and wholesome for human consumption. There is a processing fee of $20 EC per fishery application. Next, proceed to customs with permits via sea or airport. Import and export permits are not required for cooked or packaged goods. Offices are located at the Department of Marine Resources, Prospect Road, Nevis, and CA Paul Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts, as well as the RLB International Airport.
Hi, my name is Kajan Ali and I'm a certified SKN Reef Guardian. The SKN Reef Guardian training introduced me to marine ecology on an advanced level. One of my main highlights from the SKN Reef Guardian training was during the swim from Carambola to Frigate Bay, we saw about 10 southern stingrays. So one of my favorite animals in the ocean is the shark. Particularly, I like to see the leopard shark, but I like the whole groups of shark on the whole. They're also top predators, that's one of the reasons I like them, and I could consider them ocean masters, and I see myself as an ocean master. My career goal in life is to be a marine biologist. Since I was a little child, I really wanted to be one, and the ocean just always interested me, the animals inside and the colors and everything.
Hi, I am David Walters.
And I am Kavisa Foy.
We are members of the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Monitoring Network. All species of sea turtles nesting and foraging in St. Kitts and Nevis are listed as endangered, and they could all use our help.
And here are some ways that you can help them.
It is important to report injured animals so that they can receive appropriate medical attention and hopefully be rehabilitated and released successfully back into the ocean.
Even animals that are already dead should be reported so that autopsies can be performed to gain valuable information about their condition. Turtles that are not injured but are in danger for any reason will be safely relocated.
You can help by reporting sea turtle related activity to the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Hotline and to the Nevis Sea Turtle Hotline in Nevis.
The aim of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis since the 1980s was to use the cooperative movement. In doing so, one of the ideas put forward was to place shore-based facilities on or near landing sites which were meant to aid in the proper organization of fishers and their activities, as well as to satisfy their needs and those of the communities in which they were located simultaneously. Thus, the development of fisheries complexes came about. Based on the data collected, the Old Road Fisheries Complex was established due to the amounts of fish landed by the Old Road fishers, as well as to aid in the provision of a safe harbor for fishers and their vessels. Provision was also meant for the berthing or landing of bigger fishing vessels and to supply some of the similar activities and services of the Basteterre Fisheries Complex, as Old Road was meant to be an outlet of processed fish from the Basteterre Fisheries Complex. The Basteterre Fisheries Complex, which is located in East Basteterre, was originally meant to be the headquarters for all complexes, as it was supposed to be the major area where fish and fisheries products were processed. Services and facilities which were to be provided by the Basteterre Fisheries Complex were the launching of boats, recovery and boat repair, storage of boats during hurricane season, the supply of ice to fishers and the general public, and processing of fish and the supply of fisheries products and gear.
Starting from 18, the nation will honor our heroes who have excelled at leadership. Prime Minister Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris will now make his opening remarks and tell the round open.
My fellow citizens and residents, I'm delighted that you have tuned in tonight to another edition of Leadership Matters. Leadership Matters is our Federation's most popular interactive government accountability program. Tonight we focus again on the stronger and safer future and how, working together in unity, we can deliver a better quality of life for our people. Tomorrow is National Heroes Day, and it will be commemorated in a special ceremony at National Heroes Park at the outskirts of Connery Village. I invite all who will come out to pay tribute to our heroes to wear masks and observe social distancing. Every one of us will not be a national hero, but our outstanding work and contribution to nation building can be recognized. In that regard, tomorrow we shall salute and recognize 15 of our citizens with National Honors Awards, such as the Companion of the Star of Merit and the Medal of Honor. I congratulate all 15 of the honorees, 8 males and 7 females, for their contributions in the fields of medicine, education, community service, and national service in times of crisis. I am happy tonight, as we discuss nation building, to have with me the leadership involved in the subject matter of agriculture and fisheries. So we shall examine tonight the role of agriculture, crops, livestock, and fisheries in national development. Let me salute and thank all our farmers and fishers for their role to date. Our country needs you now more than ever to ensure our food security and a drastic reduction in our import of food, especially fruits, vegetables, poultry, and fish. Agriculture and fisheries must play a larger role in job creation, in economic growth, and national development. My government will invest millions of dollars to help our farmers and fishers become more successful. So tonight I'm pleased to have with me on Leadership Matters our new Minister of Agriculture et al., the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and the Director of Marine Resources, Mr. Mark Williams. I especially welcome my ministerial colleague and member for Nevis 11. Mr. Mark Williams has been doing a very good job in building out our fisheries program, and I am happy that he has made himself available tonight. So welcome to the two panelists who have joined me. Again, a wonderful night is wished to all, and I hope that, as usual, tonight's edition will be found to be very informative and a productive event. God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. I now invite Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, to make his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, and let me first of all greet you, the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Timothy Harris, my colleague, the Director of Marine Resource, Mr. Mark Williams. And also I want to say good evening to all who are listening and viewing this program this evening, Leadership Matters. It is indeed my pleasure being here this evening. And I also want to wish and congratulate the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, all of its citizens at home and abroad, on the attainment of 37 years of independence. This is indeed a historic moment for us. This evening I am pleased to be here as the new Minister of Agriculture in the federal government, and I'm charged with the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources. And my job is to ensure that we create the enabling environment in this sector so as to transform the lives and the livelihood of the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'll make a brief presentation at this point in time, and of course we expect some robust debate and dialogue later on in the program. As I begin to make this presentation, I look at the pandemic situation that we have faced over the last 6 months at least, and the effect of COVID-19 on our world economies and trade has demonstrated that Caribbean countries must modify their current economic development model, which is highly dependent on tourist arrivals and food imports. The pandemic has brought to light 6 of the Caribbean region main vulnerabilities. These include 1, the impact of climate change, evident by a longer period of drought and more aggressive hurricanes. 2, countries' high level of indebtedness. 3, high incidence of chronic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and various forms of cancers. 4, dependence on tourism. 5, food insecurity. And of course, 6, the challenges faced with marketing difficulties. The current crisis has also demonstrated just how fragile the developing agriculture model for St. Kitts and Nevis really is. Currently, the tourism sector accounts for almost 50% of our gross domestic product, GDP, while agriculture and poultry 1.5%. It is very clear that tourism is the hardest hit with this particular pandemic and will be the slowest to recover. As such, this has and will continue to negatively impact revenue streams, employment, lives and livelihood, and governance. This makes it imperative that as a government, we must invest in the revitalization of the agricultural sector and link it to the tourism sector in order to gradually transform our economic development model. It is critical that we highlight and appreciate the contribution that agriculture can make in the development of food security here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We must also acknowledge that we now have an opportunity to produce more, as to depend less on imports, revitalize our economy, create new jobs and businesses related to food production, as well as improving our value-added products by replacing imported food with more nutritious local products. The question, therefore, is where do we go from here? It is vital that we do not simply hold on to the practices of the past, but we must be cognizant of the fact that getting our food systems right will be central to a resilient recovery of the agricultural sector. The haphazard approach of producing a lot of the same food items all at the same time cannot be the practice going forward. This approach has led to a glut on the market, which has led to a reduction in prices and ultimately wastage of food. As such, innovation, resiliency, and sustainability must be our guiding principles if we are to achieve food security in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. In our quest to stimulate an agricultural revolution that will guarantee food security and sustainability, we must create the enabling environment which will strengthen the linkages amongst our farmers, the government and its various ministries and departments, or allied agencies and or financial institutions. Through these linkages, we will be in a better position to establish numerical targets or targeted goals for St. Kitts and Nevis that are aimed at reducing the current leakage of imported agricultural products. These leakages are estimated at almost $1 billion annually. This cannot be sustainable for a secured future. So as to achieve this, that is the reduction of these leakages through imports, we must establish clearly defined numerical target goals for individual farmers aimed at incentivizing them to perform at their optimal levels in the production of selected crops, whether it be tomatoes, watermelon, squash, sweet potatoes, lettuce, pumpkins, etc. Further, the Ministry and Department of Agriculture on both St. Kitts and Nevis have been engaged over the past month and have compiled a proposal which will see the establishment of a broiler slaughtering and processing facility, as well as a broiler hatchery. Data received from our Customs Department on both St. Kitts and Nevis shows that between the years 2015 to 2019, in excess of 18,683,783.976 pounds of chicken was imported into the Federation with a cash value of well in excess of $841,934.71. It therefore means that an investment in the poultry industry more so the establishment of a broiler industry, will certainly create the enabling environment for growth in this particular industry. It will provide employment. It will therefore also provide a sustainable amount of fresh chicken available to our citizens here in the Federation. This will ultimately lead to a reduction in the importation of chicken into the Federation and therefore provide the sustainability and security, food security that is, that we yearn for in the Federation. Additional to our efforts in the Ministry and Department of Agriculture, we are seeking to develop a livestock work plan, which is geared towards increased market penetration in pork, beef, and mutton production. Our plan calls for a gradual rehabilitation of the Bayford farm, which will see the development of swine breeding, cattle breeding, and also small ruminants. This investment will provide us with a goal and opportunity, an environment for growth as well in this particular area. And I do believe the people of St. Kitts and Nevis will be much better off as a result. I further want to look at some of the challenges that we face in this sector. We have had tremendous issues to deal with and grapple with in the area of water. Agriculture production is highly dependent on water, and of course, there are certain risks that are associated with lack of reliable supply of water. Improving agriculture water management is therefore essential to a sustainable and productive agriculture food sector. We have been working with the Ministry of Communications and Works and our international partners to seek to combat this issue of water shortage and lack of water to our farmers. As we all are aware, rain-fed agriculture is the dominant form of agricultural practice here on the island of St. Kitts. Of course, we have had a situation in Nevis where we are able to provide to our farmers irrigation systems. We are seeking to provide additional storage to our farmers here in St. Kitts with the improvement of the water collection systems that will be put in place. This would, of course, improve the lives and the livelihood of our farmers and eliminate some of the difficulties and challenges that they've had over the years. My ministry is committed to putting agriculture to work for us, helping our farmers in their effort to enhance and expand, and ensuring that we work together to build a more resilient sector is first and foremost for this administration and the Ministry and Department of Agriculture. But to achieve this, we must be committed to a plan of action and coordination, policy development, promoting commercialized farmers, and providing greater technical support through our extension divisions to our farmers. The stagnancy that has marred the agricultural sector is being removed by a stream of strategically directed interventions for the enhancement and transformation of agriculture. We are determined to reset the dialogue, to restage and reposition our resources, and to set things in motion for the best interests of our federation. Other areas of focus will be the troubling land preparation issues, land allocation issues, livestock management issues, youth and women in agriculture, and also entrepreneurship. We will address these in the upcoming months and years. I want to stop there at this time because I'm sure we'll have some robust discussions as we go along, but I want to make the pledge to the entire Federation that this government stands ready to assist our farmers. This government stands ready to ensure that the stability and the sustainability that we look for in agriculture will once again be first and foremost in our thoughts and our actions. I welcome your calls later in the program so that we can dialogue and make sure that we can work together as a nation to build agriculture and to make it the pillar of our economy that we have always sought for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I now invite Director of Marine Resources, Mr. Mark Williams, to present his opening remarks.
Thank you. I want to say good night to all. I also want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for inviting me here tonight to present along with the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources. The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis is blessed with an abundance of ocean resources. Fishers and other users of the marine space have enjoyed the use of those resources for generations. Over the years, there have been significant fluctuations in fish landings, which gave rise to concerns about the future of the marine resources sector. These fluctuations are attributed to climate change, inadequately planned coastal developments, land-based sources of marine pollution, and unsustainable fishing practices. In the midst of achieving our 2021 goals outlined for the marine resources sector, the COVID-19 pandemic occurred. Owing to these challenges, the government provided a robust economic relief package for the Federation's economy, with 10 million allocated to the marine resources and agriculture sectors. To date, the Department of Marine Resources has used approximately 3 million of the COVID-19 relief funds to ensure that fishers can continue earning a living while also minimizing food and nutrition security concerns. COVID-19 relief funds were used to purchase fishing gear and equipment such as fish trap wire, fishing hooks, fishing lines, ropes, which are sold to fishers at 50% of the landed cost. Many seine/net fishers, divers, and aquaculturists were not sufficiently accommodated under the first disbursement of relief funds for the sector. As a result, preparations are being made to cover the needs of those groups on the next tranche of funding. Total fish landings for the first and second quarter 2020 amounted to 282,405 pounds, valued at 3.2 million. This represented a 44,335 pound decrease from the previous year, 2019, where total fish landings were 326,000, valued at 3.7 million. The decrease is attributed to insufficiencies and inconsistencies in fish supply, as well as a result of the reduced fishing effort due to the COVID-19 pandemic and movement restrictions, particularly in the month of April 2020. However, when we examine the second quarter data, April to June 2020, total fish landings amounted to 144,460 pounds, valued at 1.6 million. This represented a 140 pounds increase from the same period in 2019, where total fish landings were 144,320 pounds, valued at approximately 1.6 million. In spite of the challenges faced by the COVID-19 pandemic, we have experienced an increase in fish landings during the second quarter as a result of the stimulus package for marine resources. Since relaxing the restrictions, the Department of Marine Resources has recognized an increase in the amount of fishing activity, which mainly resulted from unemployment and underemployment in other sectors. Our records show that over the period May 1st to August 31st, 2019, there were 26 newly registered fishers, while May 1st to August 31st, 2020, just after the COVID lockdown, there were 46 newly registered fishers. This represents a 77% increase in the number of fishers over the same period. The data reflects that our people are still seeking to be gainfully employed in spite of the economic challenges facing our nation. In spite of the above, the Department of Marine Resources is planning and overseeing infrastructure upgrades at the 4 major landing sites in order to support the development of marine resources. In Basteterre, we're looking at upgrading the fisher lockers and dredging of the fishing harbour. In Oldwood, the completion of the construction of the breakwater, the extension of the jetty, vessel slips and vessel ramp. In Sandy Point, construction of a new jetty, refurbishment of the Cooperative building, a new vessel ramp, and a new fisheries complex. In Deep Bay, a new jetty, refurbishment of the Cooperative building, a vessel ramp, and a new fisheries complex. Aquaculture has presented itself as a solution for our food and nutrition security concerns and as a generator for new income and wealth. We must invest in our food and nutrition security. We must invest in aquaculture, which is the fastest growing subsector in the world. I will stop there at this moment and allow questions to flow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. It's an early start tomorrow with the National Heroes Day Observance Ceremony beginning promptly at 8 a.m. So I am making a special appeal to callers to make your questions especially brief tonight. That is no longer than 1 minute. The call-in numbers are 869-466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and our overseas line is 239-645-4500. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take your calls.
Say all our protected areas are home to many plants and animals. And if we don't keep it clean, we will lose out. Cause of them provide the food and material. Me say yeah, we fit take care of Mother Earth. And if you are dirty up Mother Earth, say me go left for me I do. And come check for you. Me go come check for you.
Leatherback turtles mistake plastic bags for the jellyfish they eat. So remember, leave only footprints. Conserve, use, and preserve our environment.
Yeah man, basically you're only hurting yourself when you hurt Mother Nature, you know. So just do your part. Use it, protect it, conserve it. It's all about balance.
While we do not have marine protected areas, we do have marine management areas. It's called the St. Kitts and Nevis Marine Management Area and is comprised of multiple use zones. The SKN MMA is a 2-mile radius around the coastline of St. Kitts and Nevis, which includes Monkey Shoals. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis declared the SKN MMA in August 2016. The zones within the SKN MMA are conservation, fishing priority, recreation, transportation, and mixed-use zones. Our goal is to promote the safe and sustainable use of our marine resources.
Before touching the mask, clean hands with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Take the mask and inspect it for tears or holes. Orient which side is the top side, where the metal strip is. Ensure the proper side of the mask faces outwards, the colored side. Place the mask to your face. Pinch the metal strip or stiff edge of the mask so it molds to the shape of your nose. Pull down the mask's bottom so it covers your mouth and your chin. After use, take off the mask. Remove the elastic loops from behind the ears while keeping the mask away from your face and clothes. To avoid touching potentially contaminated surfaces of the mask, discard the mask in a closed bin immediately after use.
you're traveling and inquiring about taking fish or fishery products caught in the waters of St. Kitts and Nevis, follow these simple steps. First, complete an application form from the Department of Marine Resources. An authorized officer will then inspect the fishery products. The exporter will finally be issued an export form, catch certificate, and health certificate if the products are legal and wholesome for human consumption. There is a processing fee of $20 EC per fishery application. Next, proceed to customs with permits via sea or airport. Import and export permits are not required for cooked or packaged goods. Offices are located at the Department of Marine Resources, Prospect Road, Nevis, and CA Paul Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts, as well as the RLB International Airport.
Hi, my name is Kajan Ali and I'm a certified SKN Reef Guardian. The SKN Reef Guardian training introduced me to marine ecology on an advanced level. One of my main highlights from the SKN Reef Guardian training was during the swim from Carambola to Frigate Bay, we saw about 10 southern stingrays. So one of my favorite animals in the ocean is the shark. Particularly, I like to see the leopard shark, but I like the whole groups of shark on the whole. They're also top predators, that's one of the reasons I like them, and I could consider them ocean masters, and I see myself as an ocean master. My career goal in life is to be a marine biologist. Since I was a little child, I really wanted to be one, and the ocean just always interested me, the animals inside and the colors and everything.
Good evening, welcome back to Leadership Matters. We're going straight to the phone lines. Good night, you're live on Leadership Matters.
Hello?
Yes, good night. What's your question?
I'm on?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Happy Independence. Good evening to you, Mr. Prime Minister and Mr. Jeffers and the other new minister there, can't remember his name, and then to the moderator. My name is Mr. Culture. But for identification reasons, I'm going to be Anguillian tonight. Now, Mr. Prime Minister, I want to commend you for the good job you have been doing to the country. And if you were not a good leader, our country would have been entanglement like a lot of countries today with this coronavirus. So we want to give God thanks for you, for the way you're handling the country and you're leading. Good leadership. Now, Mr. Prime Minister, one question I got to ask you, and I got one from Mr. Jeffers too. Mr. Prime Minister, there are a lot of people who I know, they collect money from the government under false pretense. So I want to know if they had to pay them back. And if they got to pay them back, please let us know when and if they will have to pay them back. Now, Mr. Jeffers, I want to thank you for looking into the estate of Bayford. Because till long gone, Bayford has been wasted to nothing. And I am so glad tonight when I hear you talk about Bayford, I said, thank God we got a minister again who gonna revive Bayford Estate. Glad for that. Now, Mr. Jeffers, we have another problem here in the country. Now, the agriculture, we have to depend on it a lot. And you got some pests around the place that is destroying the agriculture system. They are what you call it, monkey with a hanky-panky business. And we cannot allow the monkey to destroy the agriculture of our country. Because agriculture now to what we have to depend on. So I would like to ask you, what plan you have to reduce the population of the monkey? Because they are not studying anything in family planning. And they are getting young ones faster than people. So I will listen up here for your answers. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Culture. Just before we go to the phone lines, just a point of clarification. There's the Director of Marine Resources here, Mr. Mark Williams, and then the Honorable Prime Minister, of course, and Minister Alexis Jeffers. Welcome, caller. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live. What's your question?
Hello?
Hello, go ahead. What's your question, please?
Good night. Good night to the Honorable Prime Minister. Continue doing a good job as leadership matters, and good night to the panelists there. I have a few questions, and I'll try to make it quick. In terms of the marine, on the previous leadership matter, I did ask the Deputy Sean Richards about the old road breakwater, and he said some work should be done soon. Still see nothing being done there. I heard Mark spoke about phase 2 and slips. So I'm wondering if we are really serious about old road breakwater. We have been blessed not to have any hurricane thus far that interrupt what has already been there. See old road been moving very fast with rock and dirt. But I know St. Kitts Marine Works with a Jamaican company is actually dealing with the breakwater. And this is, I think, it is third attempt that this breakwater is being done. So I would love to actually hear some more about it and not just we coming and talking. Because I'm from the village of Allwood, and Allwood is a town. I did a video shoot out there, and I can see a lot of progress happening with that breakwater there. Also, I get some report about fishermen complaining that they now have to pay more for fuel at the St. Kitts Marine Works, that's in New Guinea. And I'm wondering why. Like, is there a problem with the duty-free concession for fuel? Why fishermen are now being charged more? Because, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't want nobody to make you and the government look bad. And sometimes you'll have to step in and find out what is going on with some of these projects. Because it seems to be a lot of undermining and a lot of backstabbing going on. And like I said, they're not going to make you look bad, the government, because you're here to serve. And you are the leader, and leadership matter. I'm inviting the Minister of Agriculture to my farm, because I'm a farmer, and I believe in farming. Right? I have lots of suggestions, ideas, how we can move farming in itself to a higher level. One of the things farmers are facing, Minister, is the importation of the amount of pork production coming into our island. So we would like to know how that can be decreased so we can sustain ourselves and the local market. I'm wondering if the government will be able to step in and help to work with us along with the supermarkets so they can buy more. You know, we are ready to step up the game, so to speak, where we have better product of pork production and meat here and fruit and vegetable in St. Kitts. But we're still having some challenges being them sold to the local supermarkets. And we have seen an increase in supermarkets here in St. Kitts, right? So shed some light on that for me. And like I say, I'm offering a challenge. I'm inviting you right to my farm. I'm Buckygarret. I live in Allwood. I'm located in the Wingfield area. Come on down to my farm. Let's talk, let's dialogue. Let me show some idea, right? Mr. Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, right? Listen off here and continue. Leadership matters.
Thank you very much. I'm told that's all the callers for now, so I will invite the panelists to address the matters that have been raised. Honorable Minister Alexis Jeffers, I'll turn to you first.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe the first caller would have addressed the issue of the monkey problem in terms of the difficulties that farmers are facing and the challenges with the whole, as he claimed, monkey business. It is a challenge, of course, and we recognize as an administration that it is a challenge here on the island of St. Kitts. It is also a major challenge on the island of Nevis. Not only monkeys, at least we have had to grapple with the issue of donkeys and also wild pigs as well. There are issues with prey that larceny as well. So farmers are facing multiple challenges out there. In terms of the monkey issue, though, there have been a program ongoing on both islands in terms of the monkey culling program. And of course, there are persons out there who have been contracted by the Department of Agriculture who engage in this particular activity. One will say it is difficult to cull thousands of monkeys, but of course we have encouraged our farmers to invest in what we call this a solar fence. It's an electric fence that is put at the top of your fencing that create that buffer in terms of the monkey intervening or intervention of the monkey into your plot. So we just have to find creative ways, and there are farmers who have come up with additional creative ways as well. But I will say that the monkey issue or the situation we face with monkeys have not diminished the level of production of food and food products here on the island of Nevis. We have had some robust production. As a matter of fact, I will say that based on the numbers that I've seen and the assistance that we have given, there have been a renewed interest in agriculture. So persons are finding creative ways to plant and creative ways to protect their plots. And I want to encourage our farmers to continue using some of those traditional means of controlling or minimizing the impact of monkeys on their farms. But it is something that we continue to grapple with. It is one that is going to be a challenge going forward, but we still have to continue to produce. And I do believe that we have been producing at a level that is consistent with the plans and programs and policies of both the Nevis Island administration and also the federal government. So it is something that we continue to work at, and will continue to do so. In terms of donkeys, I place that on the table because, of course, that is something that we're grappling with. Like I said, in Nevis, we have had a culling program existing as well on Nevis. It doesn't seem like the donkeys are an issue here on St. Kitts, which is a good thing. So if we're dealing with just the monkeys, we continue to invest in that program in terms of the culling program, and hopefully we'll see some meaningful results in the future. But I want to encourage our farmers to continue their effort to farm, because we have to feed the nation. And of course, if we are performing at an optimal level, I do believe that there will be enough for all of us to eat. The monkeys would probably get some, yes, but there'll be enough ultimately for all of us to eat. But the pursuit should always be to produce more.
I'm sorry, I'm told we have 2 callers on hold. Good night, Leadership Matter. Good night. Welcome to Leadership Matters. So what's your question?
Good night, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good night.
And Mr. Bayford.
Good night.
Happy independence, 37 years, the Federation. Mr. Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance and Security. And I find out a lot of things being said, right, up and down St. Kitts here. Because you know what? During before you get in politics, going to school and everything, Mr. Blatter used to be around 2 stations, and politics used to be done after election. But it's going on and on, from days to weeks, from month to year. And I was in Basteterre to Friday, and I met up two ladies speaking. And whenever you meet a little group now with politics. And while they're speaking to them, they say, your government, they say, the government, you're working with the government, you're getting paid from this government. So, whoever government we vote for, and whoever government win, it's told them going in election, and one got to win, one got to lose. And you got to respect the government. You understand? We think it Nevis, and we got to respect the government. We respect other government all over the world. You got to respect the government. So, I trying to get what they're saying and so. And they're saying that we're keeping a lot of action because you put off a lot of things for independence, but things keeping all over, and nobody could do about it. All over the beach, all this and so. So I said, I thinking about this, I don't listen to the policeman briefing, and they put a traffic stop, and I taking the word. So if you got theatre on board, I know every government all got a theatre on board, I'll tell them over before you go to show to them after. That's all. The last one. You know, just come out the election. School open. And all the ministers for unity been dishing out a little book, pencil, and bags and so. So the Labour government, the Labour Party, I mean, they last. For the election, they didn't distribute nothing at all. And they must remember, the children who go in school, the parents voting for them every election, you know. After a while, they must have some conscience. After a while, man, do something, you know, because you never know what's going to happen. That's why I say, when I talk in politics, I know what I'm saying, because you don't know who's going to help you. And that's why I try to tell you the nation when I'm talking to people. But they will say, oh, John Paul, your government. I say, well, your government, you think it news. All the best, Prime Minister. Good night to you.
Thank you very much, caller. Yes. Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters. Okay, I think that's all for the calls. Again, we are strictly observing a time limit tonight because of the National Heroes Day observance ceremony starting promptly at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I'd just like to appeal to the callers again to please just go straight into your question. We would certainly appreciate that. Thank you very much. Do we have another caller? I see the phone line flashing. Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters. Okay, we don't have another caller. I will go to the Honorable Prime Minister. I'll invite the Honorable Prime Minister to weigh in on some of the matters that were raised.
And then we will have Mark address those matters in relation to the breakwater at Old Road, an important fisheries site. With respect to events being held now, there are a number of events that are being held at this particular moment in time. And those events, hopefully, are sanctioned by the task force and the Commissioner of Police. And so we are not saying that no event should be had. What we are saying is that any event to be had or to be held must be approved by the task force. The task force is a body made up of health experts, representatives from a variety of other government entities, including the police force, and they will make determination. One of the critical issues that we want to have addressed is that wherever a function is being held, that the COVID-19 regulations are being complied with, and in particular, those with respect to the matter of social distancing and physical distancing, those are being adhered to, and additionally, people are wearing masks. To the extent that people can observe the social distancing, will wear the mask, the health practitioners, and perhaps more importantly, the task force is minded to allow those events to take place, but to strictly make determinations as to the number of participants. And there is established the physical space per square foot that must be available to every person at the event. Once those guidelines are being followed, we believe that the risk of transmission would be minimized. So once the events go through the Commissioner of Police, then he will ensure that there is compliance with the protocols. I should say that this week we started the training of some 30 additional persons who will be serving the country by doing the various monitoring and surveillance of all activities that are being held. The police force is conducting the training, drawing on the expertise across the various disciplines required to equip these persons with the knowledge and the attitudinal predisposition to serve in the particular area. So we are going to step up then the work with respect to compliance. I think we have a caller online, so I will pause to allow that caller to get in.
Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters. Go ahead. What's your question, please? Caller? Okay, I'm sorry. We have lost the caller. Please.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Good night.
Good night.
Yes.
Good night. Good night, Mr. Prime Minister. Good night, Honorable Mr. Jeffers and Mr. Williams. Two quick questions for the Honorable Mr. Jeffers. In terms of the staffing at the Department of Agriculture, both on St. Kitts and Nevis, do we have enough trained first officers in the different disciplines of agriculture to ensure sustainability in food security? That's one. And the second question is that have a proper analysis of the proposed establishment of a poultry industry along with a hatchery has been done. Those are my two questions. Have a good night. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Do we have another? I think we have another caller. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. What's your question?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. PM, Mr. Jeffers, and Mr. Williams. I'm addressing Mr. Jeffers. The monkey issue. We in St. Kitts seem to have a greater problem than the Nevis situation as regards the monkeys. Monkeys seem to be down in the residential areas, and a lot of us, including myself, hardly get any fruit off my fruit trees in the residential area where I live. I don't last have eaten a mango to my yard. But anyhow, fruit, you did mention that our GDP is 50% of our GDP is tourism, and food production or exports is 1.3%, I think you said. Couldn't that be increased by increasing our planting of fruits for processing and exporting to the neighboring islands, say St. Eustatius, Sabres, and Martin, and those other places? And the other issue that might help deal with the monkeys might be the use of greenhouses and what do you call it? The use of greenhouses for food production. Obviously, that is somewhat expensive, I believe, for purchasing the greenhouses. And not only that, but from the point of view of we live in a hurricane zone, and these greenhouses are subject to damage from natural disasters such as hurricanes and that kind of thing. So could you give me some other ideas as to how we can deal with this monkey situation? Because we can't get any further with the situation as it is, and taking mild approaches like electrical, solar fencing and that kind of thing does not seem to work. For some reason or the other, the monkeys seem to work it out, how to get around that situation. And it is creating a major problem. And for our imports of food, we have some very, suitable land for agriculture, and we should be exporting a lot more food than we do. Thank you.
I have 3 callers on hold. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters.
Good night.
Good night. Hello? Yes, please.
Yes, I'll make it very quick. I haven't seen my question answered. Maybe in the wrap-up, there could be a jest. I know I had an interview with Mark already with the oral fishery. So he is definitely aware of the project. To the Agriculture Minister, today, and give a perfect example of how the minister is running there. Today, some footage was being given out. I got the message late, right? And a lot of farmers didn't get it. It's a good program as an idea that you all did today. But going forward, right, let the farmers know ahead of time that this is what is going to happen so they can prepare themselves. You know, you see other things are happening, and when you ask the question, there's nobody know who authorized it, who gave the permission. So, like I said, this government here is not going to look bad. The people have confidence in you, Mr. Alexis Williams, Honorable. So we are looking forward. Everybody's speaking about the monkey. I know there were some guys that were shooting the monkeys. All of a sudden, that program stopped. I don't know why, right? There's a lot of grafted mango tree in the Wingfield Mountain. We cannot get any grafted mangoes because the monkey is totally destroying them. We also have situations with the worms, right? So we need more fly chop. So like I said, you need to have more meetings with the farmers who are affected, and we can speak about other things.
Thank you very much, caller. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Yes, good night. Please ask your question.
Yes, good night to all and the panel. Yes, I'm a farmer. I've been for my life. And before the COVID thing, we were not impacted. There's no communication between farmers in my area and the Department of Agriculture. And since the COVID, it's worse. It's really worse. We have not been impacted at all, and we are struggling. And there is nobody, you don't see anybody from the Department of Agriculture. You don't know what's going on. Then you hear some fancy thing on the news, some flashy thing on the news. You wonder, where are we? Where are they talking about? It can't be us. We are supposed to be running up like behind the Department of Agriculture. We are the extension officers. Gilgrass killing us, monkeys killing us, drought killing us, and we're not impacted. Nobody study us. We don't exist. We don't exist. And we'll find us. And unless we go and look a work, go somewhere and look a job, we'll starve because we're just not cutting it with the fan. So many issues. Cattle trampling through your cultivation, everything. And there is no assistance coming from the Department of Agriculture. The $10 million stimulus didn't make any impact on certain areas. We see flashy things, but it's not impacting certain farmers, certain places. And when you talk, you get pressured for sure.
Thank you, caller. Oh, we have a final caller on hold. We'll go straight to that caller. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. Okay, my apologies. We've lost that caller. I'll go to Mr. Williams to address the questions that were directed at him. Mr. Mac Williams?
Yes, with respect to the Old Road Fisheries Complex breakwater, you should see work starting in a few days just after the independence celebrations. Old Road has been one of those strong fishing communities in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. You see, it started with coastal pelagics, but in recent years, since the implementation of the fish aggregating device, you see the fishers targeting more ocean pelagics like the tunas, the wahoos, the soulfish. As a result, fishers there in that community has invested in bigger boats, more expensive machinery to target these species. And as a result, we decided that we are going to have a facility in Old Road that can accommodate the type of fishing that the members of the community wants to do in that area. So we had some challenges within the course of the year. However, everything seems to be ironed out, and within a few days, the breakwater works should be completed. Should start and then completed. Also, there's a phase 2 of that development where you have the extension of the jetty, a new slip for the boats and a ramp. That should be part of phase 2. Hopefully we can start it this year. If not, then within the coming year that should start. There was another question in terms of the fuel at New Guinea. The fuel that is purchased at New Guinea is purchased from a private person. So we have no control over the price that is being charged at that facility. If it was one of the fuel companies, Delta or Sol, then we have arrangement in the Basteterre at the Port Marina where fishers can obtain fuel at duty-free prices. So probably we need to sit down and have a discussion in terms of how fishers all around the country, whether in St. Kitts and Nevis, can obtain fuel at duty-free prices.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. There were a number of questions addressed to, we have a caller on hold. Good night, you're live on Leadership Matters.
Hello?
Good night, we can hear you. What's your question, sir?
Yes, good night to everyone. My question is directed at Mark, also the Minister of Agriculture. I hear Mark speaking of, I am a fisherman in Nevis. I hear Mark speaking of improving facilities, landing site in Singlet. I didn't hear him make mention of any in Nevis, so I'm trying to find out what's the position for Nevis. Because he's speaking of slippery in Singlet. We've been crying for slippery in Charleston for the land as well, so I'm trying to find out if anything is done to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. What's your question? Please go ahead. Okay, we apologize for losing those calls. Please do call back. The numbers are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and our overseas line is 239-645-4500. Do we have another call on hold? Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. Okay, no, we don't. Okay, I was saying that we have a number of questions addressed to the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Marine Resources. Someone asked about training. How will we, do we have enough people trained to achieve food security? Before I invite the Honorable Minister to address that question and other questions that were asked of him, those of you in the public who are very interested in the government's plans and initiatives with respect to food security and sustainability would be very proud to learn that the Honorable Prime Minister has been invited to join the lineup of illustrious presenters slated to speak on Thursday, September 17th, so this coming Thursday, during the 4th Annual Austrian World Summit organized by the Schwarzenegger Climate Initiative Office in Austria. So that's spearheaded by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who used to be the former governor of the state of California from 2003 to 2011. So the Honorable Prime Minister will be one of the global climate luminaries who will be participating in the summit. He has forwarded a recorded message due to the fact that he cannot be there in person. So you will be hearing more about this during the week. On Thursday, we will definitely present that video to you on ZIZ. Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters. What's your question?
Good night. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing?
The Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Electoral, and of course, my good friend Mark Williams. My question is, what support can be given to bolster the cooperative movement that is much needed within the agricultural sector? We know that there's a lot of funding, resources that is available to countries, but not directly to governments. And these agencies, whether regional or internationally, would rather to deal with and to facilitate funding of major projects through cooperatives. So I know we have, for instance, the St. Kitts Farmers Cooperative, of which I was the founding member and the first president of. And also we have the Newtown Fishers Marketing and Supply Cooperative and other cooperatives in Bay Bay, Old Road, Sandy Point. What can we do to try to give more support to bolster and strengthen them? I'll listen off here. And I'd just like to wish everyone happy independence and a great job as usual, the Honorable Prime Minister, in leading this country in a very peculiar time. And we give thanks to God for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. We have two callers on hold. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. What's your question?
Good night.
Hi, good night.
Good night to everyone and Alexis. Good night. Prime Minister, I'm just calling to tell you good night. And I would like to just keep your head cool. You know, the cooler the head keep, the more you function better and keep the country going. And I find you guilty, but I'm not going to send you to prison. You know what I will do? I give you 5 more years of good governance. Thank you to taking good care of the country and the people. And this coming from no other than Jacqueline Maynard, Unity, and I approve this message. And I want to say something what John Paul said about the labor with the bag. Labour Party, the opposition, they do not like to lose. 2015 they lose the election and they had the people them on the airport standing. They come back and they lose 2010, they don't give them no school back, and this looks strange. You know, I come up every time they lose, they take the frustration out on the people there, and that's not nice. They need to keep in touch with the people, just like Prime Minister and anybody else. And Prime Minister, don't let anybody stress you. Keep the head cool, okay? If you have to wear a hat on it, keep the brain school so it could function good, and you have a safe night home. Bye. Good night. Take care.
Thank you very much, caller. We have 4 callers on hold, so we'll take them accordingly. Good night, caller. What's your question?
Hello?
Good night. We can hear you. What's your question, please?
Yes, okay. You hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, good night, everybody there. Mr. Jeffers, I want to address this here, but I want the Prime Minister to listen to me good. I'm trying not to be long. The monkey problem, I've been saying something for a number of years now, more than 10 years. And nobody wants to listen to me. My father was born in 1894. And my father told me that himself and others used to plant fruit trees, and the Stonefort area. And that used to happen about all the other estates up in the forest. They planted the fruit trees, variety, so that the monkeys were able to sustain themselves there. Growing up, I never know anything about monkey coming to the land. Monkey always attack the food crops, but not the intensity right now, because they're on the fruits. You had a variety of fruits. I can't even call all of them, but I believe Prime Minister might know some of them. Guava, mango, etc. So, I believe that you all should look at some areas where they use the pet people. Let it go up there. You launch a campaign for a couple of weeks. If you don't want to do the whole island, do an area where the monkeys work. I choose an area which is easier. You don't have to clean up the broad side of the mountain, because they never used to do that. The man who had owned Horsford, a man named, I can't remember his name now, but the last owner of Horsford, the man, he planted a mango walk up above the Stonefort River. And we used to go there to look mango. We used to call it Buck Hole. And monkeys used to be always up there because they get things to eat, along with other things. And people used to plant further up to the forest because our whole island was covered with cane. Monkey would eat cane, but not much. I never known monkey to eat none of the cane. They eat cane, yes. So, I want you all to think about that. I got some more to say, but let that for now. Anyway, Prime Minister, you will have a happy independence when you come, along with your cabinet of ministers and all the officials. Have a good night.
Good night. Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters. What's your question, please? Caller, you're live. We can hear you. Just speak into the phone, please.
Hi, good night. Prime Minister Harris, good night.
Good night.
This is that from your ground. How are you? Good night to everybody in the house. Prime Minister, do not let nobody stress you. He's a very wonderful Prime Minister. He's a godsend. Please do not let nobody stress you. We love you and we're looking forward for you to always be there. You understand?
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a from your ground. And have a safe journey home. Okay?
Thank you, love.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We lost a couple of callers, so you're welcome to phone again. In the meantime, I'll ask the Honorable Minister Alexis Jeffers to weigh in on some of the questions and comments that were raised by some of the callers.
Sure, there are quite a number of questions, so if you get a call, you can always ask me to hold. But I want to go back to the caller who would have questioned the cost of pork coming into the Federation. Of course, we are aware that the pork that is imported from South America or the United States is cheaper than what we produce that pork here for in the Federation, of course. What I would say to the caller and say to the general public is that the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis have signed on to various conventions. At least we're a member of the World Trade Organization, and it's difficult to just haphazardly or in a way implement any sort of restrictions on the importation of pork from those parts or those regions. What we can suggest to our people here in the Federation is we have always had a campaign of eat local, buy local and eat local, because we do believe that locally produced products are much healthier, much more wholesome. And of course, if you're thinking about or you're interested in your health and well-being, you'd want to know exactly what you're consuming. And I do believe that the products that we produce here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis is far more healthier than what you'll get from overseas. Indeed, if you were to purchase any pork from any of these supermarkets here in the Federation and compare it to what we produce here in St. Kitts Nevis, you'll find that it's a much better product. Also, in Nevis, for example, we have done a lot of processing of pork meat there at our abattoir. Here in St. Kitts, we are in the process of looking at the possibility of improving the abattoir services here so as to offer that type of service here on the island of St. Kitts as well. But we make pork sausages, we make bacon, we do all sorts of processing of meat, pork meat there on the island of Nevis. So at least the farmers do have some comfort in knowing that when they produce, then there'll be some means of getting rid of their pork and eliminate the stress and difficulties that some may face here on the island of St. Kitts. Indeed, I would have gotten a question from a caller about the staffing and whether they are trained persons at the Department of Agriculture and Ministry of Agriculture on both islands. I will say that we do have trained persons on both islands. What we have done here on the island of St. Kitts is that we have done some reorganization of the ministry and department, and we're in the process of doing further reorganization as well to ensure that the right people are in the right places and also proper reporting is done, because that's part of the difficulty that we've faced over the years, in that we do not have proper reporting and recording being done so that persons are held accountable. And of course, we can go one step further and say that we are certainly looking at the issue of conflict of interest, whereby our extension officers, who should be out there providing the advice and the technical assistance to our farmers, they would have to determine exactly what the role they are willing to play in the department, whether they'll just be there and compete with our farmers, or they would go out and do the work that they're paid to do. And I'm really serious about that, because we have had some difficulties in that area. A caller would have called earlier and said that she has not seen an extension officer during this pandemic, and that is not good. And I'll say that publicly, that is not good, because that is not what we are charged to do as an administration. We are here to provide support, whether technical support. We've been offering financial support and also support in the line of seeds and seedlings. You've heard about the stimulus package that have been put together by the administration, $10 million, and there must be something to show for that when it's all said and done. So our extension officers have a major role to play in the development of agriculture and the sustainability of agriculture. We cannot be just about all talk and no action, and that is why we have to pay some attention to that. So, Carl, I can offer you some comfort that we'll be looking closely at that to ensure that the role that is being played by our extension officers and persons within the Department and Ministry of Agriculture on both islands is being done in a way that is consistent with what the administration wants to be done. I will say over on the island of Nevis, we would have solicited the help of Mr. Augustine Merchant, who have come back on board and have been reorganizing the Department of Agriculture there to ensure that there is reporting every month and every quarter, we have these reporting sessions whereby we set targets and we set goals, and then we'll see at the end of each month and each quarter whether we are achieving those goals and targets. That is how you get some accountability in the system, and it has to get back to that for sure. And I don't think the Prime Minister will have any difficulty with me saying all this, because that is what we're here to do. And we cannot, as I said before, be talking about agriculture. We have to be serious about it and ensuring that we are doing what has to be done. Greenhouse production and greenhouse technology, that is one, of course, some years ago there were about 35 greenhouses that were distributed here on the island of St. Kitts. I do believe that is the technology that would provide some answers to us here in agriculture in the Federation. It is a prolific form of production, which I do believe we'll have to pay attention to that moving forward. I will say this, and this is just one of those things that I'm guided by. When that was introduced, that is greenhouse technology, it was, I believe, innovative, and it should have been bearing dividends at this point in time. So we'll have to look seriously at that. I believe we have a caller, so we'll get back to it.
Yes, we have two callers on holds. Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters.
Hi, good
evening. What's your question, please?
Mr. Jeffords, good evening. This is Aston Corker. Mr. Payne, good evening. Anyhow, Mr. Jeffords, here in Old Road we have a little problem with ice. The fishermen them who goes out on the sea, what you call in the evening or the early morning, they're having an icing problem. I know you'll be aware of it because you will recall I had to call you on several occasions to get some matters settled. I know at the moment the government is not hiring anyone, but can you please put something in place where you can give someone a little stipend in order so the fishermen can get their the ice at early morning or late at evening, when the young lady who is actually employed 8 to 4, when she's finished working, I will greatly appreciate of that. I can recommend to you someone who is always on the street and he lives between the fishermen. If you want me to recommend to you publicly there, I can. Or if you want me to call you, I can call you. Thank you very much.
Caller, good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. What's your question?
Good night, good night, Mr. Permanent Secretary. And good night to the Honorable Prime Minister. And good night to the Honorable Alexis Jeffords. No, this isn't a politics here. I in the farming for many years because my mother and father farm for our life. And we come out of that. You understand? But what I see in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis is farming. Our farmers got to get together. If our farmers get together, I do not think the government whatsoever will have no problem. You understand? I used to do ground farming way back in the 80s, in the 90s. But after the sugar industry, I take up animals and start to wear animals, pigs, goat, sheep, and cattle. And I doing well. You understand? But I believe that you as the minister now, and you pay attention to the farmers in St. Kitts, Nevis, I believe we could get something done out of farming. Because I'm going to tell you, most farmers only want to be together. And that's our situation here. You understand? To getting this and to getting that done. Now they got the farmers crop. And nobody want, some of the farmers they say they're going to put themselves in this, they're going to pay the money, for that and whatever. They just want to go to the agriculture department and do what they like. You think if we farmers was together, we got so much food every weekend racing in the market and different things? Because we ain't together. And farmers just want to compete themselves with the supermarket and everything. When you go to the supermarket, just imagine the vendors then got things more expensive and we're in the supermarket and I don't know how they get it done. I remember in my days, I used to sell a pound of sweet potato for $1. Now a pound of sweet potato for $7, $6, them I tell you. So Brother Jeffords, I want you to do, as the Minister of Agriculture, to work from the farmers seriously to come together. You all have a wonderful night. Mr. Prime Minister, You did a wonderful job. God bless you, and a happy independent to the whole Federation of Think It News. God bless.
Thank you very much. We have one final caller for now. We'll take your question. Good night. You're live on Leadership Matters. Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good night. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Just please speak into the phone directly.
Sure, let me do just that. Good night to everyone. I have a few questions, please. I'm also a fisher from Reef. One, when would we be getting subsidized fuel and diesel? Because, I mean, we go to the marina and think it, but the joint aircraft basically takes up the same savings that you get to go to think it and buy your fuel. That's one. Two, can we move towards simplifying the process for importing product, tools, equipment, etc. regarding to fishing and farming? That's two. Number three, can we also, in this time, remove all taxes on vessels, engines, machinery, etc. in regards to fishing and farming if we are trying to move towards sustainable food, security? Those are my three questions. I'll wait after to hear them answered, please.
Thank you very much, caller. We appear to be inundated with phone calls. Is the phone line flashing? I'll take one last call. We'll take a break after that call. And then I'd like to bring the Prime Minister in, the Prime Minister, so we can get his input. Good night, caller. You're live on Leadership Matters. What's your question? Okay, we don't have our call. Okay, we will take a quick break, and then I will invite the Honorable Prime Minister to give his input, and we'll answer your questions and then take the last round of calls. We also have some questions that came in online and via WhatsApp, so we'll get to some of them as well. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be right back, okay? Thanks.
The aim of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis since the 1980s was to use the cooperative movement. In doing so, one of the ideas put forward was to place shore-based facilities on or near landing sites which were meant to aid in the proper organization of fishers and their activities, as well as to satisfy their needs and those of the communities in which they were located simultaneously. Thus, the development of fisheries complexes came about. Based on the data collected, the Old Road Fisheries Complex was established due to the amounts of fish landed by the Old Road fishers, as well as to aid in the provision of a safe harbor for fishers and their vessels. Provision was also meant for the berthing or landing of bigger fishing vessels and to supply some of the similar activities and services of the Basteterre Fisheries Complex, as Old Road was meant to be an outlet of processed fish from the Basteterre Fisheries Complex. The Basteterre Fisheries Complex, which is located in East Basteterre, was originally meant to be the headquarters for all complexes, as it was supposed to be the major area where fish and fisheries products were processed. Services and facilities which were to be provided by the Basteterre Fisheries Complex were the launching of boats, recovery and boat repair, storage of boats during hurricane season, the supply of ice to fishers and the general public, and processing of fish and the supply of fisheries products and gear.
Hi, I am David Walters.
And I am Kavisa Foy.
We are members of the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Monitoring Network. All species of sea turtles nesting and foraging in St. Kitts and Nevis are listed as endangered, and they could all use our help.
And here are some ways that you can help them.
It is important to report injured animals so that they can receive appropriate medical attention and hopefully be rehabilitated and released successfully back into the ocean.
Even animals that are already dead should be reported so that autopsies can be performed to gain valuable information about their condition. Turtles that are not injured but are in danger for any reason will be safely relocated.
You can help by reporting sea turtle related activity to the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Hotline and to the Nevis Sea Turtle Hotline in Nevis.
Welcome back to Leadership Matters. We've had quite a number of questions tonight, and so we'd like to ensure that as many of them are answered. So I will now turn to the Honorable Prime Minister for him to give his input. Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Just very quickly, the monkey problem has been a long-standing problem facing the agricultural sector. And interestingly, on St. Kitts, we have at least 2 primate facilities, one at Borio, Lower Borio, and the other at Estridge. Those facilities utilize a large number of monkeys in support of scientific research. They also invest in the capture of live monkeys. I understand at this particular moment in time, for a live monkey, one can get $200. So that is a significant sum. We hope that that will help to incentivize those who are engaged in the trapping of monkeys to become busy and earn a high level of income by so doing. There are some well-known monkey trappers, Solis and others around the country. We want to get them to become more active again. Right now there's a high demand for primates in the context of the efforts or the race to find a vaccine. And clearly one needs to carry out a number of experiments on other species rather than to have, as we would say, the humans become the guinea pig. And in that context of the COVID pandemic, one opening that has come, or one opportunity, is an opportunity to use the vervet monkey in support of a public health agenda. And the going rate, I understand, is $200. That is not an insignificant sum. But a caller also who spoke about his father being born in 1894 spoke about what was in the past, that the monkey inhabited the higher areas of the estates, that is the mountain area. And over time, as the sugar industry became less important, less yield, we found that the monkeys came lower and lower into the lower levels of the estates and eventually into people's yard, etc. Many years back, we had a study being conducted, and how do we control the monkey population in St. Kitts and Nevis? The response that came from that study, I think, is in sync with what the caller had said tonight, The monkeys were staying uphill in the mountains because there was an adequate supply of food, whether it was cane, the cane fields, or it was the fruits and vegetables, mangoes, soursop, whatever had you, we had that were available for them. There was no need for them to come to lowland. As the yield of those things got less and less, a survival instinct has forced them to come almost to live among us, occupying our space. So the scientist or the researcher in that particular study had presented the case that the government needed to systematically begin a program of creating, as it were, buffers between farmlands and the monkeys. And it was really that you had to begin pilot project, but expanding over time to create in the higher regions of St. Kitts and Nevis fruits and vegetables for the monkey to be able to survive. That was a practical way, because unless they could get the food there, they will find themselves in Jean Howell's yard, because he has mangoes in his yard and there are none in the upper levels. So we have to look at all of these now and try to form a systematic program for dealing with them. Do a trial run with this in specific areas, see how that would work so that we can get the monkey under control and the farmers could get along in earning more from their labor. I just wanted to reflect upon that because I thought that the caller had something, an important point was made about monkeys, how they use or where they used to live then and where they are now. And in the context of the fight for food security, we also have to know that they have become predators in the context of the agricultural sector. So that is a matter that one will want to take note of. I was intrigued by the question with respect to Bayfords, because Bayfords in the past had been an important part of our policy trust for the development of agriculture. I could recall growing up learning about Bayfords, where one will go if one needed to get an enhanced breeding quality of livestock. That was where one went to be able to buy that particular breed. It was also an area where one would go and you would basically be introduced to new varieties of crops and livestock. So that particular facility over time went into disuse. We are committed to have a revitalization of Bayfords, playing an important role in the agricultural sector, particularly on St. Kitts at this moment in time. I would want to touch on or give support to the point that Mr. Politics made regarding the need for farmers to work together. It is always challenging to bring people with different ideas, etc., to come together to work for their common good. But in the past, we had some good examples. We had the Pig Farmers Association, headquartered in Tabernacle, where a number of farmers involved in pork production, for example, Dajibel in Mansion, for example, George Jeffrey out of Tabernacle, and several others came together and pooled resources to purchase the inputs, hog food as we would call it, and to make that available to members of the COP. That was a successful effort for a short period of time. We need to build upon the strength of the cooperative activity to ensure that farmers can do more. We have heard some complaints from Bucky, from Austin Coker tonight. Without going into the specifics, since the minister is here, and the director of marine resources is also here to deal with the specific of those matters, I just want to say if we had farmers associations for the fisher folks that are effective What they can do is to get all the concerns that we are hearing tonight, come together, present them to the government via the ministry, and to have some agreement about how those particular matters would be addressed. I say that to support the point of Mr. Politics, that working together, we can, as a people, as a country, as farmers and fishers, achieve more. The Minister of Agriculture spoke to some new things that must happen as we insist upon accountability by our extension officers. Perhaps too many of them are not doing their job right. And we have, therefore, to have an effective evaluation system. It's not just a conflict of interest. It is that, as we have heard tonight, some of them are no show. So the farmers are not seeing them, whether they are busy on their own farms, whether they are busy driving bus, making $1 on another avenue engagement while earning the taxpayers' dollars. All those matters. The minister, his permanent secretary, the chief personnel officer, all those entities and the government as a whole has to be engaged to ensure we get value for money. The extension service is a substantial cost and a substantial component of the kind of quality support that any government gives to farmers and fishers. And we therefore have to ensure we have good, well-trained extension officers. We have them. What the concern is, some of them are either too lazy, some of them are deliberate. Whatever deficiencies, these have to be looked at. The Director of Agriculture has to play a role in the supervision and be held accountable. The Director of Marine Resources, in a similar way, if there is that concern with respect to the fisheries. But we have certainly heard you tonight, the farmers who have called. And I was particularly pained by the call from a female farmer who I know is very strong on farming, very much interested, is a teacher in terms of what she does and what she can do. And I would really like more of our farmers to feel the love and the support of the government. But we need strong, effective leadership, sensitive, listening and hearing, and taking the action required to move the agricultural sector forward in the ways in which the minister outlined. We now have a golden opportunity. We have missed several opportunities in the past to advance with agriculture. When we closed the sugar industry in 2005, thousands of acres of land became available, but they were not available for farmers in large measure. There was no organized system. We have started that process, and the Director of Agriculture has identified hundreds of acres of land. We perhaps don't need that much, because again, if we go back to what one of the callers was saying, if we were to bring and apply the technology, greenhouse, shade houses, the water into agriculture, we can have higher yields from less land being made available. So those are just some of the policy issues at the broad level I wanted to touch. I am sure as the minister and the new PS go out more in terms of their familiarization and outreach, they will hear more from the farmers. We want farmers to speak out so that we know what is happening and we can answer to your call. I want to congratulate, though, all those farmers who, in spite of many challenges, are doing the best that they can. And my advice is that you must do the best you can each day with what you have. Sometimes we look at the glass, we say it's half empty, rather than it being half full. So depending on how we look at it, it may affect our action. We want positive action. And one of the positive action you can take, Bucky and Austin, and the female caller and all others who call with complaints. If you are not getting responses from the directors, above them is a permanent secretary Mr. Ron Collin, and above him is a minister of government. I think collectively, if we utilize these channels, we are going to get some good results for you, the farmers, who we want to serve to the best of our ability.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. I'll invite the Director of Marine Resources, Mr. Mark Williams, to give his input on some of the issues that were raised.
Yeah, thank you. With respect to the improvement of the fishing infrastructure in Nevis, the fisher called earlier, he realized that I was speaking only to St. Kitts. We have put forward projects here in St. Kitts for the St. Kitts landing sites. Over the past few months, in July, we started with the Fisheries Administration in Nevis to discuss infrastructure support for Nevis. As of yesterday, we went through the projects that were done in St. Kitts are in the process of being submitted. And we are going to do a similar development style in Nevis, because we see no different from a fisher who lives in Gingerland to a fisher who lives in Dieppe Bay, a fisher who lives in Basteterre, or a fisher who lives in Charleston. We're all fishers. We experience the same challenges out at sea. Because the budgetary cycle for St. Kitts is a bit earlier than Nevis, this is the reason why I could speak to the St. Kitts projects at this point in time. Hopefully in another forum at a later point I could speak towards the Nevis projects. With respect to the support of the cooperatives, over the years we have been supporting cooperatives in terms of equipment support. The Indian Castle Fisher Folk Organization, we have given fishing gear in the past. At the present, they have one of our fishing boats with the intent to lease from us. We support the Newcastle Bay Foundation in terms of equipment, the Jet Bay Fisher Folk, the Basteterre Fisher Folk organization, and as recently the Newtown Fisher Folk Cooperative. With respect to the ice supply in Old Road, we know we had some challenges within the course of the year. Recently, I held a meeting with the fishers who were disgruntled along with the management there, and I think we work out the issues. If this is a new issue, then you can refer the matter to the office, and then we will look into it. With respect to subsidies for fuel in Nevis, this...
I'm sorry, what I understand the ice problem needs to be is the unavailability at critical times. What he's saying, you have a worker who comes in 8 to 4, 8 to 5. Yes. It's a regular government hours. Yes. What happened to the fisher folk who has to go out at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning? That's a 4-hour period between his readiness to go and somebody coming out to work. What happens after 5?
We have made accommodations for outside of the normal working government hours, where persons can make an appointment and get their ice at the appointed time in which they need it, whether it's early in the morning before 8 or in the evening hours. With respect to the subsidies for fuel in Nevis, the challenge right now is finding a suitable location where persons can obtain the fuel. Removal of taxes from fishing equipment. This is already done. You just need to make the application to the Department of Marine Resources in St. Kitts or Nevis, and you should have, once we can ascertain that there's some economic benefit to the country, or your operations have been sustaining the economy at some point in time in the past, recent time in the past. Normally we see a favorable decision being taken on your duty-free applications.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have approximately 12 minutes left in the program. I will invite the Honorable Minister, Alexis Jeffers, to briefly weigh in on the issues that were raised, questions that were directed at him, and then I'd like to bring in some of those online and WhatsApp questions that I referenced, and then we will go into brief closing remarks. Honorable Minister Alexis Jeffers.
Okay, yes, I just want to briefly touch on a comment that was made earlier by a caller regarding increasing the planting of food in order to export to neighboring islands such as St. Eustatius and St. Martin and Anguilla and the likes. And I support him wholeheartedly, but I will say this though, we absolutely need to plant and produce enough to feed ourselves first before we can start thinking of exports. Exports are a good thing in that you collect some foreign exchange, yes. And I believe there are plans afoot to grow agriculture to the point where we can eliminate the boats that come from further south of us and go into areas like Anguilla and St. Martin as well to sell produce. I do believe that we produce some of the best crops in the region in terms of the soil type that we have, in terms of the resources that we have. We certainly can compete. But it requires a level of seriousness, it requires a level of dedication, and it requires a level of investment on the part of the government as well in all farmers and in all of the persons and personnels that are connected to agriculture. Some of the things that we have heard tonight, I do believe that we can seek towards eliminating some of the challenges and some of the complaints and difficulties that are out there. But it has to be done in a wholesome way whereby the Department and Ministry of Agriculture is playing its part in terms of ensuring that the policies that we have put in place and the plans and programs that we have for agriculture are indeed bought into by our stakeholders who are our farmers. Our farmers are willing to work. Our farmers, I am absolutely certain, are willing to produce at the optimum level so as to make this nation proud. I also want to, at this point in time, though, thank all of our allied agencies that we have had a relationship with over the years. I speak of ICA, I speak of the FAO, I speak of CARDI, and also, of course, the Republic of China, Taiwan, who is here with us on in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. They have had, I'm speaking of the Republic of China, Taiwan, they have had just over 37 years of relationship with the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we have benefited tremendously from their input and their technical assistance in agriculture here in the Federation. And we want to continue to harness that support and to build on that support, because I do believe that they will play an integral part in the future development of agriculture. So the overall thrust moving forward is to look at it as a new beginning in agriculture. We have had some starts and some misstarts and some missteps, and I do believe moving forward with what we have been facing in recent months, this pandemic that we have faced have presented us with some golden opportunity, and I use that word again as I used before and the Prime Minister would have used as well. We seem to, when we face challenges such as hurricanes and disasters, and in this case this pandemic, we seem to develop that love and that connection and with agriculture, and agriculture become the talking point again. I want to say moving forward, it should never be the case where we have to revisit, but we are building as we go along, and using the building blocks that we can create in agriculture, we can certainly make a sustainable industry out of what we call agriculture and what we are proud of. And I think we have what it takes to do so. I do believe that we have a serious administration that has demonstrated seriousness over the past 5 years or more. And I do believe building on that, we can certainly meet some of those challenges head on. And I part by saying, because I do believe we are heading into a wrap-up phase, but I want to give my commitment and assurance to all of the farmers in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And of course, those who would have called in this evening, I want to give the assurance that you have in me as the Minister of Agriculture and this administration, a combination of of entities and persons that are serious about agriculture. And if it is that there have been challenges in the past, I believe the Prime Minister would have said it correctly, we have to have that engagement, we have to have that dialogue, and we have to have that level of discourse whereby our words become our bond and our action become the overall result that we're looking for in terms of positive actions and positive results. And I do believe that we have what it takes to do so. And the commitment is there. At this, the 37th anniversary of our independence, we should be more independent in agriculture as far as I'm concerned. But at least there's never it's never too late to start. It's never too late to implement new things and new ideas and new actions. So here could be the starting point, and here could be the point from which we can look in years to come to say we have turned the corner and we're doing what is necessary to feed ourselves and to have a sustainable industry.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. I'd like to just quickly read some questions that came in online and on WhatsApp, and then we will go straight into the closing remarks. So some of these questions can be addressed either within the closing remarks or before the closing remarks. First one, for someone who believes in women empowerment, what are your thoughts on NRP making history by electing the first woman to be leader of a political party in St. Kitts and Nevis? Second, will the government pursue electoral reform, which includes the changing or increasing of electoral boundaries during their 5-year term? Good evening. When will workers start getting their severance payment? The next one. Good night, Mr. PM. There are some people who received the money from Social Security and already returned to their job. I have received my money for the 2 months, and they called me again, but I did not accept it. But I know that some people went and accepted even though they are working. So please look into that. The next question, I am a young person that has been applying for land for the past 16 years. I want to know how can I acquire land from the government as a young professional who is willing, able, and ready to purchase for residential and commercial purposes. I am from Central Basteterre and have applied to NHC 6 times with no response. He said, this young person says that he has been applying for land, or she has been applying for land for the past 16 years. The next question, what programs are being put in place to ensure there is a direct link between the farm, in brackets, this person has food production, and the family table? And lastly, good night. I heard the Agriculture Minister mentioned broiler production in his opening remarks. I am already commending the government on this venture and hope it will come to fruition early. Ever since residing here, I have been asking about this and can't wait to see it happen so we can stop eating these foreign chickens. Local is the best. Okay, I will now invite Mr. Mark Williams, Director of Marine Resources, to give his closing remarks, and then we'll go to the Minister of Agriculture, and lastly, the Honorable Prime Minister.
Once again, I would like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for inviting me here tonight to discuss marine resources matters within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We are living in different times that are more challenging. However, we have to be cautious with our use of our resources. We realize that the marine captured species have been fluctuating over the years. It is often difficult to maintain fish landings to feed our people. On average, we import 850 tons, but produce only 450 tons. So it is somewhat difficult. We have to look at other avenues, such as aquaculture. We cannot depend on foreign imports much longer because of the challenges with the pandemic. Not many countries will be exporting their high-quality products to St. Kitts and Nevis anymore. What we will get is probably the refuse or what we call the trash fish. Fish is an important product in our diets within the Federation. Omega-3 fatty acids is something that is important for Alzheimer's. So what we need to do is for fishers to come to the table and ask and tell the Department of Marine Resources, what do you want the future to look like? Because we have our ideas, but our ideas for the future of the industry would be somewhat useless or futile if we do not get the input from the fishers and the fisher folk of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So we already have a fisher discussion, a fisher chat on WhatsApp where we discuss matters. We want to have more fruitful discussions going forward, and we want all the fishers to look at their craft and determine what they can do in order to contribute to the economic development of the Federation during these COVID times. Thank you very much.
Mr. Williams, I now invite the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources to give his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, and I must say it was indeed a great pleasure and a delight to be a part of this conversation this evening. I do believe that the conversation that we have had this evening will be fruitful in the future, in that absent of a conversation and absent of the input of the general public and absent of these types of discourse, then we won't know where we're heading and we won't know what we need to do as an administration in order to create the type of impact that we want to have in agriculture. So the conversation is important, and of course the difficulties and challenges that we will have moving forward can be mitigated if we are able to pool our resources together in terms of our ideas and put them to work. Agriculture, as we've been preaching over the years, can be the decider in determining the progress of this nation. We have to feed ourselves. Every day we have to eat, and we have to be able to produce at a level whereby we're feeding ourselves in the event that there are difficulties such as what we are facing at this time. I've always said that if 1 week or 1 month or even up to a year we are unable to receive any produce or any product from overseas, then we need to be able to feed ourselves during that period of time. And it therefore means that we have to get to the level where we can certainly say we have turned the corner in producing and production here on the island of St. Kitts and on the island of Nevis as well, and in the Federation on a whole. I am pleased to say that our farmers, despite the challenges, have shown the commitment that they're willing to do what we have determined is best for us as a country. So agriculture will have to play its role. We understand the fragility of the other areas such as tourism, but of course, even though there is fragility in the tourism industry, there are still opportunities there as well too, because once we have some buoyancy in the tourism sector, then of course agriculture can partner with the tourism sector in order to ensure that our farmers, their produce are getting to the tables of our hotels and restaurants. So there are partnerships and links to be established and fostered as we go along and ensuring that we are meeting the demands and supplying what is necessary to keep our people fed here in the Federation. Agriculture, as I said before, can be that platform on which to build. Some may have some doubts about that. I don't have any doubts whatsoever as to the role agriculture can play. If I had any doubts, I would not have accepted the role of the Minister of Agriculture for the island of Nevis and for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I do believe, and I do commit once again to providing the effort and the energies needed to ensure that we are fulfilling the mandate that the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis want us to do. With those few words, I want to wish the entire Federation once again happy independence, a happy 37th anniversary, that is. We have come a long way as a nation. We still have a long way to go. But of course, the last 37 years have taught us some lessons, and we certainly would have to build on those lessons and also ensure that we're leaving a federation and a country that is worthy of being inherited by our children yet unborn. But of course, the leadership and the administration that is currently piloting this federation forward has to be commended, and all those who have contributed to the overall progress of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I want to commend all of the leaders, all of the persons who have worked in the civil service, in the private sector, healthcare, all of the areas here in the Federation of St. Kitts that have contributed to our progress. I want to thank them all for their contribution, and I want to say to everyone, thank you for listening. It was indeed my pleasure, and do have a pleasant night's rest.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I now invite the Honorable Prime Minister to make his closing remarks.
Thank you very much. Just a quick go at some of the questions you posed from online. The farm-to-table concept, of course, is critical as we encourage our citizens and residents to utilize more fresh fruits and vegetables as part of the regular diet. So that is something we want to encourage. Indeed, there's a new brand of tourism that also embodies the farm-to-table concept, where persons are able to get as much fresh foods. Fruits and vegetables is as part of their stay at hotels. That has become a major attraction, and indeed Taiwan has been a very good example of these. The broiler production, again, we are happy to hear that the position or the announcement made tonight by Minister Jeffers is one which persons have been looking to hear. How do we get deeper, I should say, in the broiler production aspect? Many years ago, Springfield Egg Farm had been involved in a big way in broiler production. Over time, that aspect of it was lost, and we largely had become a country self-sufficient for 11 months of the year in terms of egg production. We need to be able now to utilize the whole chicken, as we would say, as part of our efforts at food security, and we import a substantial quantity of poultry products into the Federation. If we could save some of that by displacing the imports by quality, I stress quality, chicken produced here in St. Kitts and Nevis, that would take us a long way, and that will create employment for many more persons, and of course a chain of activities that would benefit the country as a whole. To the caller from Central Basteterre who inquired about land and its availability, the short answer is that in Central Basteterre there is no publicly available lands, and so the government, as part of the movement forward, as part of the program for the redevelopment of Basteterre, we are looking at the possibilities of acquiring, or purchasing would be a better word, private property, some of the abandoned properties throughout McKnight and elsewhere in Basteterre, and make them available for housing. Additionally, we will give incentives to persons who have these abandoned properties for them to be able to put them into a better state of availability and add to the housing stock in the country. Nonetheless, I would suggest to the applicant that on the application form, you should perhaps put anywhere, if you are so inclined. A lot of time persons want land in Basteterre, but there's none. There's no land in East Basteterre. There's no public land in Central Basteterre. So those two large areas are without land in proximity. What we have are some limited lands available in West Basteterre. The government policy is that land in West Basteterre would be shared across the Basteterre belt. And we should also add that land citizens in St. Kitts and Nevis have a right to live anywhere in their country. So because you're from St. Paul's or Old Road, you should not be denied an opportunity in Basteterre if that probability exists that you can have and you can pay for it. So we don't want people to begin to think in a parochial way that the lands in this particular area belongs only to people from that area. That will not happen in the context of the shortage we are talking about in some areas. And equity and citizenship, of course, must have value. So if you apply, if you have to put anywhere land is available, that will make it easier. Because in some areas, there is not a shortage of land for residential purpose. While in others, Central Basteterre, there isn't any land. East Basteterre, there isn't. And so that will provide a greater scope for the engagement. Those who ask about the severance payment, I was advised last week by the Minister of Labor, Honorable Wendy Phipps, that $11 million, a substantial sum, had been provided by the Ministry of Finance for them to begin the payout. So any hold-up in payout is not for shortage of cash, although the fund had been exhausted. And so this administration has had to put $11 million into the fund to facilitate the payout of severance benefits. That process is a long one because there are several steps. The employer is involved, the Social Security is involved, the Ministry of Labor is involved, and in the circumstances in which we are now living, the Ministry of Finance is also involved. But we are working towards that. The important thing is that once you submit a claim, the Department of Labor should be able to say to you where your claim is at. Are they waiting on Social Security? Because Social Security has to supply data that is used for verification of the claims that are put. Social Security is, as it were, the depository for labor records, to the extent that every employer is obliged by law to submit a return each month. Social Security then can confirm you had been employed for 10 years, 15 years, whatever the period of time, and therefore help the Labor Department in assessing the claim. We want this process to speed up. What I can undertake to do will be to require of the Labor Department a regular reporting of the number of claims that are being processed and from sectors. So we are working in that caller. If you do not get a response, say it in another couple of weeks. I will invite you to call 661-1136. Give your name, give your particulars, and we will attempt to inquire where your particular situation is. The person who WhatsApp about the election of Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge as the leader of the NARP, clearly we welcome on board every citizen to feel confident enough to participate in the democratic process. She is a citizen, we wish her well, and that reality, we hope, would inspire more females to want to move forward in the political domain at the highest level. We are a free society, we are a democratic society, and the political parties are at the fulcrum of the democratic life in St. Kitts and Nevis. In terms of my own closing remarks, again, I want to commend all those who have taken the time every Tuesday. And some persons have said to me, since this program has started, they have not missed one edition. So I want to say thank you very much for paying attention and tuning in. Equally, I want to thank those who not only tune in, and we have about 4 or 5 platforms on which this program is carried: Facebook, YouTube, etc., etc. Of course, NIZ Radio and TV. And so there are multiple media through which one can get connected to this program. We want to thank all of you who take the time to call in to hear your views and your concerns. This is what this program is about. It is the government at the highest level holding itself accountable to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and residents here. We do that because we value you. You are important to us. People matter most for the unity government in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so every opportunity that we can connect with you, we welcome that opportunity, and I want to thank you. As we go about celebrating our 37th anniversary of independence, I want to say thank you to all those who made it happen, those who were in the vineyard for many years. For example, the Right Excellent Robert Batcher, who is our first national hero, and others of that league. Right now we boast of 5 national heroes. Sir Robert Batcher, Sir Paul Southwell, Sir Joseph N. France, Sir Simeon Daniel, and Sir Kennedy Simmons, who is our living national hero. Tomorrow we salute all of them, we pay tribute to them, and we thank them for their service and their contribution to nation building. We want to add to what they have left to us. We want to create a quality of life in St. Kitts and Nevis that is far superior than anyone would imagine. We need all of us to work hard to achieve that goal. The stronger and safer future is still realizable, notwithstanding we are at a very difficult point in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis and in the history of mankind. COVID-19 has wrecked societies, wrecked economies. St. Kitts and Nevis stands, as it were, in a strong position, or we stood in a strong position when COVID-19 knocked at our doors. We have been able to weather the storm, but for us to move to the Canaan land, for us to build the Garden of Eden, and interestingly, tonight we were talking about farmers and fishers. Could you imagine the Garden of Eden without fruits and vegetables, among other things, and fishes? So we need the support of the farmers, and I want to thank them all for their contribution to the health and wellness and welfare of St. Kitts and Nevis. I hail them all. I want, of course, to hail up a young farmer I met recently from Sadler's, Andre Patrick, I think his name was. 15 acres is a lot of land under cultivation. I want to thank George Jeffrey from Tabernacle, Simas, Sam Julius, and all the others who are engaged actively in the production. Palmer from Mansion, Williams from Mansion, Gilbert, Debbie Gilbert from Phillips, and all the other people, Keith Roy, Matthew, one of our young, outstanding farmers. I want to thank you all. Glenbow, Anthony Williams from Lodge, and we could go on. Mawson, Easton Mawson from Shadwell, and several other persons. Mr. Armstrong, Pete's in St. Peter's, you know who you are, from the bottom of the heart. Thank you very much for supporting food security in St. Kitts and Nevis. May God bless our people, and may God bless our country. I thank you much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. We wish all of you a very safe and happy independence. Good night.
All our protected areas are home to many plants and animals. And if we no keep it clean, we go lose out. Cause of them provide the food and material. Me say, yeah, we fit take care, Mother Earth. And if you are dirty up, Mother Earth.